What you are now seeing are pictures, murals, posters, sides of buildings, and people looking at or painting art. What do all these arts have in common? They were all made for the Federal Arts Project, also known as the FAP. As most of you know, in the 1920s, America's stock market crashed. That started the Great Depression. Our president at the time, President Roosevelt, had to think of something to help with all these people who were jobless. What he came up with was the New Deal. It gave people a lot of jobs and it helped open a lot of banks. By 1934, the New Deal had already started making changes in our country. In 1935, though, President Roosevelt wanted to add more to make it even more effective. They added two things, the Social Security Act and the Works Project Administration. What I'm going to focus on is the Work Progress Administration, also known as the WPA. The WPA gave so many different kinds of people a bunch of different kinds of jobs. And it had a lot of different branches. There was a Federal Music Project, a Federal Theaters Project, a Federal Writers Project, and a Federal Arts Project, also known as the FAP. This was the first major attempt at government patronage
of the visual arts in the United States, and the most extensive and influential visual arts project.
No, I'm just kidding. It's not that boring. Just wanted to make sure you were paying attention. Anyways, the FAP mostly helped visual artists like painters or sculptors. One of the most popular projects was murals. The people in charge of the FAP would give the artists a certain amount of money every week to work on whatever project they were working on. Usually if it was like a mural, they'd give them a topic that they had to discuss. Like maybe it was like a nationalist subject that was something about United States and how it's so good. For this video, I decided to focus on some of the murals in Cleveland. This is an example of lithography. Lithography is a process where you print from a flat surface where the ink repels the paper except for where you want it. This certain picture was made by Kalman Kubinyi, who was dubbed the leader of the WPA graphics workshop. This was a picture of one of the many bridges over the river downtown. In pictures like this, the artist was trying to show documentary realism. Documentary realism is when the view that the subject it's political, and it doesn't matter what the principle is, it's just extremely political. During this time, a lot of people were sort of in denial about the whole Great Depression thing, and this was basically to say they are trying to show the people this is the Great Depression, it's happening right now, and it's something we have to deal with. This mural is actually in room 302 of McFarland Middle School on South Paul Laurence Dunbar Street. It portrays young African Americans. At the top of the mural are the words from Langston Hughes' poem, Youth. And it says something like, "We have tomorrow bright before us, like a flame yesterday at night gone thing, a sundown name and a dawn today. Broad arch above the road we came, we march." Langston Hughes was a very influential poet during the Great Depression. This mural currently resides at Oberlin College. It shows a discolored Cinderella and the characters from The Pied Piper. I think that this mural is important because it's sort of not like the others, because this is an example of a mural that didn't have a political topic, and it was just made of what the artist wanted to make it. The artist was lucky when they got to pick the actual topic of their paintings. This mural was made by a man named Mr. House. He wanted to portray the creative abilities of the mainstream American life, especially for Negroes. He worked with a man named Charles Saleh. Saleh was the leader of the Karamu group. I'm not sure exactly what the Karamu Group is, but they produced many quality prints for the WPA. Karamu means the center of the community in Swahili. I personally like this mural. It was made by a man named Ora Coltman, and it's called The Dominance of the City. It could be found at the Cleveland Main Library on the 3rd floor west side in the Fine Arts Department. The large center panel shows the bridge over the Cuyahoga River in the Cleveland Flats. The artist's intent was to glorify the genius of Cleveland and the ways that we still had transportation over the river and the valley. It was to show how the bridge was across 2 highways, making one community out of 2. Anyways, those are just some random examples. Now it's time for some facts. In just by the year 1936, 5,000 artists were helped. In the next 8 years, that number would probably double. The WPA also helped a lot because a lot of the people were middle class and poor, and artists was something that you couldn't have in everyday life, and it was something that rich people got to experience. So it gave the poorer people a chance to experience what a richer life was like. The New Deal ended at the start of the Cold War. In the end, the government invested $35 million into the FAP. The FAP was completely over when the president made a proclamation in 1942.